Back for another day in the NBA here on the Splash Play Bets channel. Of course, we're going to do what we always do in this channel. Just take a look at my projections, compare them to some of the industry leaders out there like Stokastic, perhaps even like our friends at Unabated. Actually, no, their projections aren't out, so not the second one. We're also going to dig into today's two-game slate here, try to get back in a groove here, and to take last week off, just kind of get myself realigned after, as you guys know, a very long NBA season that we have to go through. The regular season, all these things that go on down the home stretch as well. Gets a little bit tiresome. Oh, excuse me. God, I got something in my throat the moment I'm starting a stream. Really great way to return to form here. Of course, it's going to be a new time here. Going to be moving things around a little bit, trying out some different times. But we'll be doing this here earlier for all the playoff slates. So let's get into it here. And let's also look, one thing I do want to do up top is talk about kind of playoff rotations, how they work a little bit more, because I think it's an important thing to kind of establish up top here, why rotations go a certain way, why player minutes are a little bit different for the playoffs than they are in the regular season. And I think there's a good example the other day with the Clippers-Denver game. You can see here, we got Jokic in the thumbnail today. A lot of minutes going to Denver last game out. Jokic got 46, played 41 minutes of regulation. Aaron Gordon got to 46. Jamal Murray got to 48. Christian Brown got to 45. And an interesting little decision tree thing happened here. There's some quotes that came out after the game of Nikola Jokic basically being asked about, like, how do you get Michael Porter Jr. Motivated for the playoffs? I think it might not be the exact verb choice, but something similar to that. Basically, he's like, you shouldn't have to get motivated. Like, it's the playoffs. These games matter a bunch. It's basically where we are right now. Michael Porter Jr., he got sat last game for Russell Westbrook. So you kind of see here how we look at playoff lineups a little bit differently. If a guy like Michael Porter Jr. comes through today, he's probably going to cap Russell Westbrook's minutes a little bit more. If Westbrook is the better player today, if Porter Jr. doesn't show up, it's another obvious way to kind of get leverage here on those two players relative to ownership. So two things we're seeing with this game in particular. The extended minutes here for star players, as we talked about as well, mentioned on the Discord last week. If you're not a member on there, make sure to check that out. It's the only way to support this content right now, this time of the season. But for basically star players in the playoffs get more minutes. That's the main thing here. If the team's getting blown out, you maybe run a higher risk of the team getting benched earlier. It's getting blown out because of the fact you want to save these guys for the next game, have them be full go, have the most energy possible. But I think here, seeing the Michael Porter Jr. versus Westbrook thing, seeing the high minutes as well and how overtime can really get you to almost 50 minutes of playing time for your key players. Those are your main things you're kind of looking for in the playoffs, especially for these two-game sets that we have right now. I was really hoping this week we'd have a few 3-gamers, 4-gamers, because we have a bunch of games to choose from. But so far, it's staying with the play-in format of only having a couple of games on the NBA TV schedule every given night. But as it is right now, these kind of situations could really mean a difference between cashing in some slates, winning some slates as well. And I had a pretty good run in the play-ins last week, so hopefully it'll go well here for this part of the season. We're going to look at my projections next. Let me check out the chats as well. We are live indeed. Either MPJ or Westbrook, but not both. Yeah, I would say probably not both. I guess there's a world where Aaron Gordon could be so bad or Jamal Murray could be so bad that one of those guys could play over them, but it's not the most likely. And again, it's something too. It's a one-game sample, so we never want to really dial in that much on that. But in a series, you have a better shot at that one-game sample. Not so much matchup-wise, but in terms of rotation stuff, that mattering a lot for the next game. Guys, if you can, real quick plugs here. If you want to see this content continue on, again, there's no presenting sponsor right now, so it's a little bit hard for me to get up for these shows, but I'm going to try the best I can. As always here, bringing you my data and my takes. Join the Discord. It's the most direct way to do that. $5 to join here. You can join the channel down below. And, of course, it goes right directly to support the show. And really, if we had about 100 members on this channel, I'd be more inclined to do streams daily. As it is right now, I'm going to do the best I can, see how it goes, and then once we get to the dog days of summer, maybe shift more into best ball if we're not getting the views we're looking for. Check out Stokastic as well, 15% off. You can still check it on Unabated too, 20% off. Again, not a presenting sponsor, but still a great product here. And the fact that I'm now plugging them for free means probably the biggest cosign I can give for this. I don't like to plug shit for free unless it's actually good. But let's get into my data here. So Nikola Jokic, top projected player here. Not a surprise given the fact we just saw him play 46 minutes, almost 47 in that last game. Obviously, the situation here would be the same thing here. If they're going to go into overtime, going to be a lot of minutes for Jokic, a lot of upside as well. A center matchup for Zubac, not a bad one for Jokic either, even though Zubac, a relentless rebounder, certainly a good defender. He's kind of the exact kind of player, not a freaky athlete or anything like a Bam Adebayo, who's historically given Jokic at least some issues. So I think for Jokic here, really basketball-wise, minutes-wise, what he means to the team at this point-wise, really hard to imagine not playing him. Stokastic has him for 32% ownership. I don't see how that's possible. I got him in 92% of my top 150 lineup so far. I think he's more likely to be higher owned when we get to the cards being flipped. I think it's also pretty easy to get to him on the slate from what I've seen so far. A lot of nice value players or relative values. Guys are a little bit too cheap for the amount of minutes they get and the projection they have. So for Nikola Jokic, I'm getting a ton of him here. And I don't think it's going to change today given the matchup. Really, the only way he doesn't hit, I think, is if Denver gets completely blown out. And at that case, maybe if you don't play Jokic, boost Harden, boost Kawhi, boost Norm Powell to a lesser extent. Zubac as well. Zubac should directly pull, I guess, if you were really defending Jokic well, keeping him off the glass somehow. I don't think it's likely, but I think that's your way that Jokic would fail. It'd be the Clippers just run away with it, and then Jokic gets sats that keep him fresh for game 3. James Harden at number 2. So Harden really outperformed the other Clippers over the weekend. Harden's also been a player for me all year long. I've had him better projected than Kawhi, better projected than Powell, than Zubac. Though Zubac has also been a guy that pops up a lot for me. For Harden here, seeing it happen in game 1 of the playoffs felt a little bit like all right, now we're seeing like things kind of work out the way they're supposed to. Still game to game, would think that you could have Kawhi pop up. Kawhi to me doesn't project as nearly as good of a value, or frankly, a high projected play. I only have Kawhi at 40.8, Harden at this 50.5 projection you're seeing on screen. So the way that Harden probably fails or doesn't hit that projection would be Kawhi having a better day, having an outlier day at much less ownership, or at least significantly less ownership. So I think Harden looks like a good play here, but only got him in 27%, Fields at 30. Cade Cunningham, 44% for the field, only 21% for me, is where I'm really paying the price tag for playing as much as Nikola Jokic in my top 150 sets so far. But Cunningham looks pretty good. Minutes are going to be good for him. Obviously, again, star player in a competitive playoff matchup. Getting a little acrimonious with this game as well. Beasley was being snippy. The teams don't seem to like each other, respect each other very much. Asar Thompson basically implied that there's nothing he needs to do differently to stop Jalen Brunson. That's kind of quote that maybe makes Jalen Brunson a little more fired up today after he also had a really good game 1 as it was. For Cade, though, just kind of a steady presence amidst that, I think, is going to get a ton of possessions. Should consolidate usage even more in the playoffs as long as the Knicks don't really defend him too well, I guess. So for Cade at 9,100, I kind of feel bad about having half the field of that. 44% for the field, I've got 21. He's a 5.5x value for me. So this is sort of where, again, if you're going to pay it for Jokic everywhere, Cade's pretty cheap for where he's been all year, 9,100 compared to the 10K-ish he had for a lot of the season. I think Cade looks pretty strong here, even though I didn't really get there myself in the semi-round. Karl-Anthony Towns, again, another player I'm a little bit surprised that I'm lower on, having 0.9 fantasy points higher than Stokastic, only getting 11% for myself, 27% for the field. But when you get this much Jokic, I have Jokic projected for 70, Towns for 49. That unfortunately is going to do a lot of the legwork there, with about a 21-point discrepancy between the two players. Still like Towns here. Think he and Brunson are the guys that I expect to consolidate usage, though Anunoby kept his up in a way I was kind of surprised by in game 1. But Towns, Brunson, both look good to me. Towns' price tag also a little bit cheap. I think it's sort of the tough point. It's like Jokic absolutely cheaper than he was in the regular season. Harden pretty much priced where he was in the regular season. Cade cheaper than he was regular season. Towns cheaper than he was regular season. Brunson cheaper than he was regular season. You kind of have a tough choice here, and it seems like the ownership here for Stokastic pushing more towards the guys that feel mispriced at this point. But I think, to me, getting a balance here of these guys is a little more logical, and it feels to me like Jokic and Harden, if they're going to be 30% owned and you have this much Cade, this much Brunson, I think you're paying up to be contrarian there, even though Jokic is cheaper than what the 12,900, 13,000 he was down the home stretch of NBA regular season slates. Ivica Zubac, not getting a ton of him, 30% for the field. I'm at 23. Again, still a player I have no issue with. Brunson, they talked about enough already, but 41% for the field. I'm getting 31 there. Like both these guys, like their price tags. I think if you're building more balanced team, if you're fading Jokic, I think these guys look a little bit more appealing. Zubac as well has kind of a direct leverage point against Jokic. Technically, both centers in a game can hit, but sometimes the other guy crushes on the boards, something like Zubac can do. Could theoretically impact Jokic or reflect that the game kind of got away from them. Denver missing a lot of shots, a lot of defensive rebounds floating Zubac's way, and maybe get some assists off that, rim runs, whatever the case may be. So for Zubac here, I think he's a better player than I'm getting ownership-wise, but I'm not getting very much. So Kawhi, 22% for the field. I'm getting 5. He projects really lowly for me. That was the case most of the year. The issue for Kawhi and for me with Kawhi is that he's playing more minutes more reliably than I ever would have thought, given his injury history and how that's gone over the last, I guess, half decade or so. For Kawhi, I'm at 40.8 fantasy points. Stokastic's at 41.7. So really not a big projection stand against him, but I'm barely getting him at all. All these guys look like great values to me. Kawhi barely there, and Anunoby barely there. It'd be harder for me to play both Kawhi and Anunoby relative to the rest of the top projected players. But I see a pathway for them to hit, and I would think, too, again, Kawhi will probably hit his highest ceiling outcomes more. Games are Harden fails at his, and then you kind of kill 30% of the ownership. There's a logic to boost Kawhi a little bit more today. Tough sell to fade Jokic. I mean, look, in cash, I don't think you fade Jokic no matter what. For a tournament, I think it's probably your job to get a little bit less Jokic, see some other builds. It is always hard to pull that trigger. I know for myself, it's been a lot of slates this year where it's I just plunked Jokic in, just dealt with the consequences. Sometimes it worked out well where it's the 100-point day, but even then you're still with, 40% in the field, and I had 75% Jokic that day. Did he put up 100 fantasy points? And he doesn't really do a lot for you when everybody kind of gravitates that way. So like if you get Towns at center and let's say Jokic puts up 60, Towns puts up 55, you're definitely close enough then. And then a Cade hits, a Harden hits, a Brunson hits, whatever else the case may be. That's sort of your pathway for Jokic to fail. And if you layer on top some Nuggets maybe getting there or Clippers getting there because they blew the Nuggets off the court and Jokic sat early, I think that's sort of the way you would try to get away from Jokic and be, game theory wise about it. But it is hard. It's hard projection wise when you see a 20 fantasy point chasm between the top player and the next guy. I think you normally want to take 20 fantasy points because even if he fails, he's still probably 10 fantasy points higher than the next guy. And that guy has to hit a ceiling outcome to get even close to, Jokic's kind of floor projection would be a better way to look at that. But, that's why he's a cash game play for sure. Jamal Murray, 27% for the field. I got 11. Really not a big Jamal Murray fan this year, as you guys have known if you watch the stream. Still 11.2 fantasy points higher than Stokastic does. Minutes are there for him for sure. 41-minute projection for him from Stokastic. I think the price tag's okay. If Jokic were to fail as well, maybe it's because Jamal Murray had one of his 50-point days that seemed like they are deeply in the past at this point. But Jamal Murray here has some utility and for that game theory fading Jokic, but not a lot of love for me in my projections. Josh Hart, 28% for me, Fields at 32, price tag down a little bit, 6,900. This is a guy who was 8K for large portions of the NBA season, and now he's getting more concentrated minutes for himself and his teammates. Josh Hart, I think, makes sense. Good projection on him. You can play him with Towns. You can play him with Brunson, but he does hit his ceiling more if Towns and Brunson fall short and points, rebounds, assists, respectively for those guys. It's where Hart tends to hit the triple-double upside a little bit more. So I think Hart not a bad play here, but I don't know if I would want him in, if I had been every lineup with Towns and Brunson, I feel like that'd be a little bit OD. OG Anunoby, 29% for the field. I'm at 15. Low stand here. He put up 50 fantasy points last time out in game one. Still find it hard to believe Anunoby keeps hitting the ceiling outcomes when you've got Brunson in, when you've got Towns in, and that usage kind of flows those guys' way. But Brunson, Anunoby clearly thinks he's on a tier with Brunson and Towns. So I'm not boosted him or anything. Got him at the higher projection than Stokastic has right here. But it seems like I'm not going to get there close to the field. 29% feels like a lot here. And Aaron Gordon, I got 63% of here. Fields at 35. For Aaron Gordon, nice price tag at 5,900. Another one of those key nuggets that's going to play basically every minute this team has to play. So Aaron Gordon, if you get overtime, you're almost definitely going to get 40 minutes. Find it unlikely he'd get subbed out like a Michael Porter Jr. would because the defense is always going to be there for Aaron Gordon in some respect. So Aaron Gordon, I think a good play here. He and Christian Brown, I think in some respects, more solid plays, at least less fragile plays than Michael Porter Jr. is. Let's sort by value here, and then we'll skim through game by game. Probably not going to be a whole lot to see there, given that it's a two-game slate. But guys, you can show some love. Again, try to get back to the grind here for taking last week off to get my mind right as best I can, and also just to really catch up with shit around the house and in general. Please subscribe down below with the like button. Leave a comment. It does go a long way here. It goes an even longer way if you want to see this kind of content more for NBA and MLB down the home stretch of the playoffs and for MLB regular season. Please join the Discord. $5 to join here. If you join the channel down below, get immediate access on there. And if you want to get my projections well for NBA, you're going to be running all playoffs long. So join the higher tiers on there, the Squirt Squad tier or the VIP tier, or just go with $5 to support the show here because it does really go a long way at this point now that we are in the unsponsored season of things. Top values on the slate. So this is where Jokic gets even tougher. Despite being the highest projected guy in the slate, Nikola Jokic, to me, also my top value. A 6.1x value here. That's why I'm getting 92% of him. Again, still think there's a logic to finding ways around him, especially in lineups where you're not going to play him naturally. Just boost some other Nuggets, boost some Clippers of the star caliber, guys that have an outlier day that could lead to a blowout. But Jokic, really top value, top projected. He's a great player here. And the price tag is insane for where he's priced all year. Legitimately $1,500 less than he was on the home stretch of the regular season. And now the minutes he has to play him. So it's kind of nuts. Christian Brown, tougher matchup on paper, I guess, going against the Clippers than some of the soft matchups he might have had. But just crazy to see him at 11-5 at this point. Christian Brown, get another guy getting big minutes for Denver. I think his spot is pretty secure. I guess there's a world where Porter Jr. and Westbrook could play and Brown could sit because he is sort of your least important man out of that 5-man closing group. But Brown, I think, is going to be locked into his minutes. The issue, 38 minutes, still only a 28.4 projection. If he doesn't get all the minutes somehow, just they play another guy. They like Pickett for some reason, put him out there. Like anybody that you kind of make the case for, Watson, whatever. They can put somebody else out there. Brown loses minutes. But I don't know who it would be offhand because they just seem pretty comfortable playing him not getting a lot of usage. But don't expect a lot of fancy production here because he's just not that kind of producer overall. Cade Cunningham, a top value. We've talked enough about him already. Aaron Gordon, same thing, 5.5x value. Asar Thompson is actually an important one on the slate. So last game, he picked up foul trouble early on. Malik Beasley got a few more minutes as a result. It seemed like they liked Beasley more down the stretch. Asar Thompson also kind of got cooked by Brunson, but to the point where the reporters were asking about it. But he was like, oh, I don't need to do anything different. Like, whatever. He's like, thinks he's going to lock down Brunson here. Maybe comes out more motivated, it seemed, based off the one media quote you guys might have seen going viral on Twitter over the weekend. For Asar Thompson, a lot of ownership coming his way for me. 64% fields at 44. I would say in lineups where you don't play Asar Thompson, getting more Malik Beasley would be logical. Theoretically, I guess you get more Tim Hardaway Jr. But Asar Thompson's one of those kind of, he should get more minutes, I would think. And the second half of last game, he played 18 minutes. Would have been, I think, no, is that correct? I think it might have been closer to 14 minutes. It would have been on pace to play 28. So it might be dyslexicing my numbers up a little bit. Basically was on pace in the second half to play a good allotment of minutes. First half, because of the foul trouble, he didn't really get there, and Beasley took a few away. So Asar Thompson, I think there is minutes upside there, but there's downside. If he's going to be owned by half the field, it is a lot. Love the price tag on Asar. If you could put up close to 30 today, well, yeah. So that's the issue. The price tag is really appealing, but again, keep in mind, like if you're not playing him, and a lot of people will see that Asar Thompson and go 4,500. He's the best value on the slate. If he fails, Malik Beasley probably gets there as a better shot at getting there. Maybe Tim Hardaway Jr., same thing. Jalen Brunson, 41% for the field. I got 31. Getting a really cheap price tag for him at 8,300. Pretty close to where he was in the regular season, I guess, to be more accurate. But there were times where he got to 8,500, 8,800. So I think Brunson a little bit cheap. Had really good scoring in the first game. Good performance overall against Detroit. I think he's in another good spot here. Really nothing should be able to stop Detroit unless Asar Thompson really leaps to the challenge in this game. Vika Zubac, and then maybe two in lineups without Brunson boost Asar Thompson, I guess would be one way to do that. Maybe Asar Thompson creates a few more turnovers. Brunson's projection comes down a little bit as a result. That's a possibility. Vika Zubac, and again, I'm saying this mostly because like 2-game slate, any little micro thought of game theory might be something that gives you an edge. So I'm just going to say it out loud as we go, probably more than I usually would. Vika Zubac, getting strong player here at 7,700. Nice price tag for him. Harden, he's still my favorite Clipper, has been all year, but I do think that I feel a little bit low on Kawhi, a little bit high on Harden. But Harden did crush everybody else on the team projection-wise in game one. Karl Anthony Towns, 27% again for the field. I'm at 11. Really like him more than the projection here, than the ownership is giving. But he's 21 points behind Jokic in projection, so a little bit hard for me to get there. Jalen Duren, 24% in my sim. Fields at 30. Malik Beasley, 54% in my sim. Fields at 27. So I do like this look here, getting a good amount of Asar Thompson, getting a good amount of Beasley. I don't know that I want them together. I do think they pull from each other enough, but I guess they can hit. I don't know who to get benched to play them together. It's possible. This is the days where we could just jam Harden, Zubac, and Powell have a 150-point floor. Yeah, sure. I mean, does the days for Kawhi. I mean, that's really one of the things we talk about with the usage and all that. When you get somebody else coming back in, taking a lot of shots, it just throws off the feng shui there. But there was a period, where they were all, 7 to 8K, and they crushed in the beginning part of the year. All right, we got a little game-by-game view here. Won't matter too much, but Detroit, 107 implied points. New York, 113.5, so not the highest totals here. Detroit losing about 3 possessions based upon the regular season pace that they had. Cade Cunningham, I'm low on. Tobias Harris, I'm really low on. Harris played a lot of minutes last game. He's just not a good producer. Doesn't really gain a whole lot. I do update the rates for court time without Jaden Ivey this year. Harris, to me, not a guy I've gotten to at any point this year, really. I'm not going to get there today, but the field's there at 32%. So you want to play more Tobias Harris than I do. I'm not going to be mad at you for it. Jalen Duren, 24% for me, 30% for the field. I think he's an okay play here. Think if Towns were to fail, Duren might be able to get a few more rebounds up, maybe a few blocks on Towns. $6,100 price tag for Duren doesn't feel too bad either. But, more possessions flowing Cade's way because of it being the postseason. Beasley, too, to me, kind of feels like a playoff guy. You get the ball to a little bit more. I'm trying to get some more threes for him. I don't know that I trust Duren's upside being as high as it was in the regular season, but I think he's still pretty cheap. And if he does hit, God forbid, 55 fantasy points or something, he probably wins the slate. Asar Thompson, again, would think that he and Beasley being in the same lineup is not a good move. Clearly got some of them here, given that I have 54% for Beasley, 64% for Asar Thompson. But I think if I'm running things for myself later on, I'll probably play max one of Beasley or Asar Thompson. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been shitty all year. I don't want to get there. He could absolutely win in a tournament, playing enough minutes, project for 29.8 here. I just don't like playing guys that haven't been very good generally. I'm not playing enough lineups, doing a 20 max and 5 to 10 entries in the big tournament every night. I don't need to play the Tim Hardaway Jr.'s of the world for myself. I can live or die by other guys. But if you just want low ownership here, Tim Hardaway Jr. to 20%. Maybe gets some leverage on these guys all being decently owned. Dennis Schroeder, 48% for me. Fields at 29. Don't love that one, but he's 4K. How many minutes did he play last game? That's actually one I don't remember offhand. Went through all the popcorn machines before, but Dennis Schroeder escapes me. 26 minutes for Schroeder last game. Did close as well. Actually, they went small to close. They went Tobias, Asar Thompson, Beasley, Cade. I'll pull up the tab. Beasley, Cade, Schroeder. So Schroeder closed last game. There's a world where Schroeder could get a few more minutes. I don't really feel that strongly about it. Like, I don't feel 48% owned strongly about Schroeder closing a game and getting more upside. But 4K salary, potential to close, maybe not a bad value play, especially if you're not going to play Asar Thompson. New York on their side, getting a little bit lower on all these guys, basically. Towns only 11%, Fields at 27, Brunson 31, Fields at 41, Josh Hart 28% for me, Fields at 32, Anunoby 15%, Fields at 29. Getting no Mikal Bridges, which has been the case all year because he's been awful, averaging only 0.79 fantasy points per minute. Detroit's defense is a little bit better than league average. I'm not surprised to see me not having these guys projected spectacularly, but a little bit low on all of them makes me uncomfortable. I think the Knicks are like a sleeping giant, a sleeping tiger that could make the finals if things really broke the right way. The very few playoff basketball NBA drafts I did, I drafted a good amount of Knicks, so I just like their ADPs a lot. And the fact they have kind of a concentrated both rotation and offense and scoring and all that. So the Knicks here, hard to see them have the upside they had in game one, I think, where you had a bunch of guys putting up just shy of 50 fantasy points, Towns, Brunson, and Anunoby. Things should flow a little bit more Hart's way, should flow a little bit more Bridges' way as much as it can. But I like these guys more than my ownership has. Fields maybe a little bit overowned on them. Clippers, we got 29.6% ownership for Harden. I'm at 27, so close to the field on him. Again, he's been my top Clipper all year for this Clippers team with 109.8 implied points here. For Kawhi on his side, getting none of him, 5% for me, Fields at 22. I would rather have Harden. I'd rather have Norman Powell, it looks like. But Kawhi in the spot, really nothing stopping him from having an outlier day and basically squeezing the entire team. If Kawhi puts up 50, Harden probably failed. Powell probably failed, or at least didn't hit his full projection or didn't exceed it that much. Zubac, probably no impact. But Kawhi, really, to me, being less owned here, I think, at least against my ownership, feels like an important lever to note. Vika Zubac, 30% for the field. I'm at 23. If you have as much Jokic as I got, as we saw earlier, it's going to kind of go that way. Norm Powell, 41%, 23% for the field. Decent price tag for Powell at 5,500, playing 29 minutes in Stokastic's minutes projection here. I like Powell in the spot. I do think that he certainly is the guy that should lose usage the most as the playoffs go on. As they get against better defense, maybe Powell gets going more because you kind of try to stop Harden, you try to stop Kawhi, and then Powell's left with kind of the sloppy seconds and thirds of defense after that. But I'm okay with Powell at his price tag. You just got to have guys, I think, who represent mid-tier price tags basically to get there, and Powell's one of those guys. Chris Dunn, I have not played Chris Dunn at all this year. You can see why with his fantasy points per minute at 0.76. Counting for the match with Denver, and the team total I have for 0.69 today, which is not so nice for a guy in fantasy here for DFS. So for Chris Dunn, I'm getting there because he's 3,800 and he's playing regular rotational minutes. He can have a good day, I guess, but really hate the Chris Dunn kind of plays generally, especially in the playoffs, where it's like, this is round one. We're not like fully clamping down. We're expecting Chris Dunn to suddenly shoot 6 threes because he's playing such an elite defense in the NBA Western Conference Finals or something like that. It's just kind of the early times here where Harden, Kawhi should get their shots. Chris Dunn can add some stocks and whatever. He's been a good defender, but I don't love that ownership. Ben Simmons, hard to get there. Bogdanovich, hard to get there. These guys getting squeezed minutes-wise, seemingly so far, at least based on game one. Derrick Jones Jr., defensively minded playoff guy who could play some more minutes, but also very fragile ability to lose minutes to other guys. Getting 47% of him doesn't feel great either. He and Dunn, I guess, are just guys you kind of have to get to relative to their price tags. The fact they're going to play 20, maybe 25 minutes if things roll really well for Derrick Jones. But just not the most fun plays. Same for Nick Batum here. This is where you're getting your value. I don't love it. I think, frankly, if you're to omit Clippers value and just focus on other players, take more of your Norman Powells and less of your Dunns and Bogdanoviches and Joneses and Batums, I think you're probably better off for it. For Denver on their side, 108.8 implied points. So a 1-point dog at home. Actually did not note that before the show. Surprised to see that. So for Denver here, again, played a lot of minutes last game for their star players. Porter Jr. was awful, just receded into the background, got gobbled up by the Clippers defense. Him bouncing back today, I think, would come as a really nice little tournament play. No ownership coming Porter Jr.'s way. He's the kind of guy where if things really roll his way, he can get you 40 fantasy points at 6K and win a tournament. I think trying to get with the field's 12% Michael Porter Jr. seems like an important thing to me based on some of the narratives, what the media was asking Jokic about after the game. But Jokic, here's your priority. I have 3x the field in my top 150 lineups with my projections on Stokastic Sim. So Jokic, very strong play here based on that. Again, we talked about it a lot earlier. Just the projection's so high, it's hard to avoid it. But if he were to fail, if you were to get that outcome, it could mean that Murray had an outlier day, a combo of Murray, Porter Jr., Gordon, Westbrook, Brown probably the least out of that group, or the Clippers just boat race him on the other side. Kawhi gets there, Harden gets there, Zubac gets there, Powell gets there, some combo of that. That's your way that Jokic really fails. But if he's going to play 41 minutes, he's probably going to get you. I mean, the worst case scenario is like projection-wise, probably like 60 or so, maybe high 50s, I guess would be like your worst case scenario. But if he's playing 41 minutes, like I think he's still probably getting you high 60s. So I don't know. For Jokic, hard for me to fade him, but the game theory of it, the fact that like you can just kind of build everything around him and you're not suffering too much, besides perhaps playing a few too many shitty Clippers. I think that's really the trade-off you have for Jokic today. Jamal Murray, only 11% for me, feels 27. You make your stand with Jokic, you should get less Murray, you should get less of the other secondary pieces here. Aaron Gordon, though, playing good minutes at 5,900, I think works well enough. Power forward center, don't really know why you'd want to play him at center on the slate, but honestly, maybe makes it unique in some way. Aaron Gordon, going to be out there playing big minutes no matter what. I don't think he's at risk to lose minutes like a Michael Porter Jr. is. Same thing for Westbrook as Porter Jr. One of those guys is going to sit in crunch time. Westbrook played well last game. He is also still a bit of a mystery box in terms of what's going to come out game to game. Really don't know that I rely on him too much. Being flat with the field on him. I think being with the field on Porter Jr., I would say maybe a little bit higher. Being flat with the field on Westbrook, maybe a little bit lower. I think that feels like the right move to kind of lever against the recency bias that people are going to have from last game. And Christian Brown, 64% for me, fields at 44. Not a spectacular player, only 0.84 fantasy points a minute on the year. I've got him for 0.75 today when accounting for the matchup and for the team total and all that. For Brown, though, minutes are minutes. He's going to be out there. I really think he and Gordon, to me, minutes-wise, feel a little more secure. I think that a combo of Gordon, Brown, Norman Powell, that sort of gets you some salary savings. I think that's a way to play things if you're not going to play the shittier, lower-tier Clippers value. I think there's a lot of important things with Brown today, in particular with Brown and Gordon on Denver's side. And that's all my data here. Again, we don't have to do the run-through unabated here, so let's take a look at unabated anyway. They're not going to have their projections out. We can see what their market-based data has. And we'll run a DFS sim, so we'll keep the process the same way that we had in the regular season as well. And guys, if you can, I'm going to load this in another tab. I'm not going to show the ad video today. I know we all love the graphs, but frankly, if I don't have to run that ad video one more time, I'm not going to do it. Please subscribe down below with the like button, leave a comment. Again, if you want to support this content as well, subscribing is really important. Hitting the like button is really important. But also join the Discord is really important. Join the channel down below. You get some VIP perks to the channel. You could also get access to my projections, all the data I show you on screen here, in addition to ones you could use on the sites themselves. So please support the show. $4.99 to join down below. And really, it would make my life a lot easier in these unsponsored times if you could do that. We're going to use the market-based projections today. Let's see what we get. And I'll just kind of skim through quickly on unabated. Let me actually show the tab. That might help. And we'll run a sim. I'm going to try to keep these videos closer. If it's going to be 2-game slates, going to try to keep them closer to like a half hour moving forward. But I don't know. It's just hard with all the little game theory nuances. I feel like it's hard for me to go too fast through this. All right. Let's see if we got anything good. Market-based stuff. You could have a lower EV than some of the sim things we saw with unabated throughout the year. Of course, Unabated is still a great tool, though. 20% off. Check it out. So here are the bets that I would take. It's not a lot of them, but Andrew Nembhard over 10.5 points, minus 105 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook gets you 3.1% EV. And for sim EVs, you're looking for 5% or higher. For market-based EVs, you're looking for 2% or higher, because basically a sim EV is a number that kind of, to simplify, it comes from out of nowhere, comes from thin air. A market-based number is based upon, has kind of numbers layered into it, how much customers are spending on this, how the books are aligning things for their probability numbers. So that's why, for especially unabated, for Odd Shopper with Stokastic, same thing. You can just go a little bit lower with your theoretical ROIs on these than the sim numbers. Giannis under 33.5 points, 2.7% EV. These are all for tomorrow's game. So this is actually not It's not helpful for today. If you're trying to get some action for 422, though, Nembhard and Giannis looking good. If you really want action for tonight, Josh Hart over 12.5 points, plus 100 odds on DraftKings, 1% EV. Normally, you want more like 2% for market-based data, but you could play that if you want it. Bridges over 14.5 points on Underdog, I probably wouldn't. All right. And you also really are seeing the difference, especially if you watch the shows throughout the regular season, seeing the difference here a little bit more so of what market-based data looks like compared to the proprietary projections created by Justin Fan and those guys. It's basically like you just have a lot more discrepancies because they're not priced into tens to 20s of different sports books that all these kind of sites have access to. And as opposed to like Unabated data where it's just 1,000 users, let's say, probably more than that, but like 1,000-ish users coming on and using their data to place bets. You just get a little more edge from it than you do market-based stuff, which there aren't a lot of like custom projection products out there. Credit to Unabated for actually creating one that did a lot of good for people this year. Alperen Şengün over 10.5 rebounds. This is a tomorrow bet, or actually, no, this is a 423 bet, but it's still good to take. Over 10.5 rebounds for Şengün. It's not going to move in a way it's going to end up being worse for him. A 5.5% EV on Şengün over 10.5 rebounds, plus 108 odds on FanDuel. Taurean Prince for tomorrow over 2.5 rebounds, minus 105 odds on DraftKings. Gets you 3.6% EV. This one's for tonight. Cade Cunningham under 5.5 rebounds. He's playing so many minutes. I don't love an under on rebounds bet for a guy going to play 40. But plus 100 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook gets you 2.4% EV. And Moses Moody again for the April 23rd game against Houston. Over 2.5 rebounds, minus 140 odds on FanDuel. Gets you 2% EV. All right, not a lot for tonight. A lot of the inefficiencies get priced out from people knowing the game in advance by a few days as well. It's kind of like NFL, where if you try to place NFL bets, like let's say Saturday, Sunday, a lot of the EV gets squeezed out throughout the course of the week by sharp bettors who are kind of pouncing on those lines. So I think I actually haven't really thought about this because it wasn't something I've ever done a ton of research on, but I presume it's the same thing for NBA playoffs where it's like, the matchups with enough time in advance. So the data has time to stabilize. People have time to sort of make the bets more correct. The sportsbooks have the time to make the bet more correct. And I think that's probably what we're seeing a little bit of here. Not a lot of bets for today being priced that well. Isaiah Hartenstein, though, for the 22nd. So for tomorrow, under 3.5 assists, minus 166 odds on DraftKings, gets you a nice little 5% EV, especially for a market-based number. Fred VanVleet, under 5.5 assists, minus 118 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook, gets you 4.4% EV. Draymond Green, again, also the 23rd, under 5.5 assists, minus 158 odds on FanDuel, gets a 2.1% EV. And if you want one for tonight, this one's playable enough. Over 2.5 assists, minus 128 odds on FanDuel, gets you 1.7% EV. And PRAs, the good news of Unabated not paying for the segment now is like I don't feel like I have to drag it out. I can just put up a few good ones. We can move on. We'll get to our DFS sim next. We'll call it a day. Don't expect these to be 1 hour videos moving forward. Expect to be a little bit shorter. So for you guys that did want a shorter version, you're not going to get a 5-minute version, but you will get slightly shorter version here. Is that everything? All right. Not a lot of good PRA bets, but we got at least 2. Both for the game tomorrow for Indiana, Milwaukee, Andrew Nembhard, that is, like he's James Bond. Over 18.5 PRAs for him, minus 115 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook. It's 2.4% EV. TJ McConnell, you can play it on your pick'em sites if you need one. Under 13.5 PRAs, looking good for TJ McConnell. That's it. Not a lot of great market-based lines right now. Again, a lot of the juice squeezed out. When these lines first update, you're probably going to find more market-based values on Unabated's data. Conditional projections will still do the legwork for you, though, but they're not out yet. All right, let's go to Stokastic next. We'll see what a sim has of just their data. You saw, guys, already what my data looks like overlaid in a Stokastic sim. And now you can see what just their feelings are for this slate. And let's generate 5,000 lineups. Let's get rid of this banner ad. This is coming up. I don't need a subscription. I'm good to go. You guys show some love if you can, both to the sponsors. Again, Unabated 20% off, Stokastic 15% off. Link down below if you want other sports as well. PGA, NASCAR, MMA, MLB, of course, NBA playoffs as well. You get all that stuff for 15% off. It's the best deal they have, and it goes on in perpetuity. It's not just the first month or something like some of the other deals they have going. Let's check it out for yourself at Stokastic, 15% off on there. And please do join the channel, join the Discord, $5 to join. It does support the show directly. Of course, it is a little easier to do these shows when they're sponsored and being paid for by a company like Unabated, who is a great partner throughout the NBA season. But now I need you guys to show the love if you can. Treat me like PBS. I won't send you a tote bag, but I will give you basketball takes. So that's what do you what do you want more? Do you want a tote bag? No. I get tote bags from DraftKings sporadically. I'll tell you how many times I've fucking used them. This many. This many times. I don't need tote bags. But I do need quality NBA takes. Almost won one of the tournaments last week too, which was which would have been a nice thing to return to here and be like, well, I wanted to do shows for you guys. I'm hit, but finished sixth in the big tournament on, was that the Thursday slate? Plans were very good to me. Frankly, the end of the season was good to me. I told you guys on stream, made some changes to my projections on the home stretch to kind of flatten things out a little bit and not penalize guys too much for different situations with various players off the court. And it's been really working well. So we're going to be here through the NBA playoffs. Going to show some love. Going to be probably some different times when at 12:30 Eastern today. But either way, the goal is to get out a little bit earlier. So there's kind of a more evergreen window for people to watch because shit doesn't change as much in the playoffs because we know who's playing for the most part every given game. But stay tuned here at the notification bell when you want to know when I go live. And of course, these videos will be coming out as long as there's a major NBA tournament. I'm going to try and do them again Monday to Friday. All right. Top 150 lineups here. Let's favorite them. According to Stokastic, your number one ROI lineup with a 170.5% ROI is Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Asar Thompson, Josh Hart, Nikola Jokic, Chris Dunn, Nicholas Batum, Ivica Zubac. So Stokastic loving the cheap Clipper value here with both Dunn and Batum. It's Tim Hardaway Jr., another guy who sucks, makes it in as well. Jalen Brunson, Christian Brown, Asar Thompson, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson. Okay. Tough to play him at this point for me, with Towns likely to get more and more minutes as we go on. Chris Dunn again, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic. So Jokic makes both lineups so far. Chris Dunn, your value guy, coming up a little bit more. Asar Thompson also coming up a good amount. Dennis Schroeder, Chris Dunn, Derek Jones Jr., another shitty, cheap Clippers value. Asar Thompson yet again, Nikola Jokic yet again, Cade Cunningham, Tobias Harris, Ivica Zubac. So Zubac and Jokic making a good amount of lineups here. Number 4, you have Cade Cunningham, Chris Dunn, Asar Thompson, OG Anunoby, Jalen Duren, Christian Brown, Nicholas Batum, and Nikola Jokic. And number 5, Cade Cunningham, Mikal Bridges makes this one, Asar Thompson, Tobias Harris, Jalen Duren, Chris Dunn, Nicholas Batum, and Nikola Jokic. So Asar Thompson makes every top 5 lineup. Jalen Duren makes more than I would have thought, makes 2 of them. Nikola Jokic makes every lineup. Chris Dunn makes every top 5 lineup. Oh boy. All right. I could see why I was getting so much shitty Clipper guys. It seems like the Stokastic sim really likes the Clippers. I mean, they're going to get minutes. They just don't do a lot with those minutes. That's the push-pull there. Your top ROI players, according to Stokastic's top 150 lineups, right, as of right now. And again, it's about 1 p.m. on the East Coast. Asar Thompson, negative 1% ROI. Nikola Jokic, negative 2% ROI, number 2. And don't worry about the negative numbers. We're just worried about the directional accuracy based on the sim data. Jalen Brunson at number 3 with negative 3%. Chris Dunn, number 4, negative 4%, not a surprise. Christian Brown, negative 5% here. So another good value here. Probably a lot of Brown and secondary, tertiary Clippers coming in if you are going to use Stokastic's data today. Batum, Derek Jones round out your top 7. So Asar Thompson, Jokic, Brunson, Dunn, Brown, Batum, and Jones Jr. Oof. These Clippers guys really are not good. They're going to play enough minutes. They're going to play 20 plus minutes for Chris Dunn, maybe even 30 if things really break his way. But man, they just don't do anything out there. Asar Thompson, your highest exposed player. So Stokastic not sharing the Jokic love quite as much. 76% Asar Thompson, 45% for the field. So pretty big stand there for Asar Thompson. Jalen Brunson, 75% exposure for Stokastic's top 150, 41% for the field. For Nikola Jokic, he's at number 3 here. So still 2x the field with Stokastic's projections. I'm a little bit higher. I'd have been 90% of my lineups. But here you're getting in 68% compared to the field's 33. Christian Brown, 60% exposure, fields at 43. As we talked about, he and Aaron Gordon should be your mid-tier value guys to look a little bit more that are going to probably, no matter what, get you 35 minutes unless the game gets completely blown out early on. Nicholas Batum, 49% fields at 30% and change. I don't love the play, but he is 3,100. It's power forward center too. Awful positionality for him. Chris Dunn, 47% exposure in Stokastic's top 150. Fields at 31. I really just don't feel great about Dunn here. He'll play the minutes. He's 3,800. I'll get some, but if he's coming up in every lineup for me, I'm going to knock him down. I'll say that right now. And same thing for Derek Jones, 37% exposure, fields at 33, so not as big of a stand. But Batum, Dunn, and Derek Jones going to be in basically every lineup with the Stokastic data. Possibly 2 of them in some of these lineups. Your leverage plays, or highest positive leverage plays: Nikola Jokic, number 1, 35% more in the field. Brunson, number 2, 34% more in the field. Asar Thompson, number 3, with 32% more in the field. Nick Batum, 18% more. Christian Brown, also 18% more rounded up. Chris Dunn, 15% more in the field. And Jalen Duren, 7% more in the field. We saw him pop up in a lot of those top ROI lineups a couple of minutes ago. Your most negatively leveraged players: Mikal Bridges, negative 21% leverage. That is a pretty big anti-stand for him, and I agree with that. Harden, negative 20% leverage. I don't agree with that as much. I'd be happy to get Harden, especially in lineups where I'm not going to be paying up all the way to Jokic. Jamal Murray, negative 17% leverage. OG Anunoby, negative 15%. He does keep going off, put up about 50 fantasy points last game. At a certain point, Anunoby just might be a different player, and he showed it a lot down the stretch of the season. But I'm not saying that as a case to really play him, but I have to say, I'm not a small sample size guy. Feels like Anunoby's playing for something else. I don't know what the fuck the deal is with him. He's going nuts. Porter Jr., they're fading him here. Really think he has some appeal as kind of a bounce back player that needs to get going. He also can be the kind of player that kills the team in the playoffs. And then, there's some questions asked about him for sure. But again, if you're not playing him, Westbrook probably looks better. But I think Porter Jr. is worth more than 1% ownership they're giving him here. I mean, round it up. Stokastic fading Kawhi as well. Only 10% field to 22. So fading Harden and fading Kawhi. It's kind of interesting to see when you have as much Jokic as Stokastic is recommending. And Karl-Anthony Towns, negative 12% leverage for him in Stokastic's data. So some pretty big fades here. Towns, Kawhi, Anunoby, Jamal Murray, Harden. Porter Jr., I guess the field's not going to be there anyway. But noteworthy fades for Stokastic. I'm going to give you guys my splash plays for the day. Before we do that, guys, please show some love if you can. Subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. It all goes a long way for me here, whether you're watching live or after the fact. Check out the sponsors too. If we're going to do this show, without a presenting sponsor, which means me not getting paid per stream, really does go a long way. If you enjoy this content, go check out Unabated to get your 20% off. Check out Stokastic, get your 15% off. Great betting tools, great DFS tools. And let me show you stuff on stream here that I really believe in. And these are products that I use myself, that I've worked with throughout the course of either years in Stokastic's case or the entire NBA season for Unabated. They both do a great job, and really you'll be in good hands if you check out either. You'll also be in good hands if you join the channel down below for $5. Join the Discord if you want to see more content here for NBA, more content for MLB. The only way to do that is to get more members here on the channel. Buy my projections as well. All the data I show you here on screen you get for yourself by joining the Squirt Squad or Squirt Squad VIP tiers down below. All right, splash plays for the day. I think it has to be Jokic. If you're not playing Jokic, everything you do should be based around trying to figure out what are lineups I could put together that don't have him succeeding, basically. He's the best value on the slate to me, highest projected guy on the slate to me. I got him in 92% of my sim lineups. I'll be playing a lot of Jokic today. Even though the lineups where I don't play him, I will be trying to find ways to say, okay, Jokic doesn't work out. Cool. Boost Kawhi, boost Harden, boost Powell, maybe try to get multiples of them. Maybe same thing, boost Murray, boost Porter Jr., boost Gordon. It's really got to be a concerted effort for Jokic to fail. It's got to be something really out of the norm goes on, because he's going to play high 30s minutes, maybe 40 minutes, no matter what. Christian Brown as a value, I think I feel good about him. If it comes down to him or any of those much cheaper but much shittier Clippers guys, I'd rather just take Brown and know I'm going to get myself probably 20 fantasy points and beat out those Clippers guys that are going to be 1,300, maybe 2K cheaper in Batum's case. Brown's going to play good minutes unless the game blows out. So I think Brown's a strong play here. Got him in 64% of my top 150 lineups. Besides those guys, Asar Thompson still looks really strong to me at 4,500. If you don't play him, though, Beasley should be more of an option. Last game, Asar Thompson lost minutes to Beasley because of foul trouble, and Beasley, frankly, plays well enough as well. If he got hot from three, he can keep Asar Thompson off the court. So Asar Thompson, a good play, but there's a way to kind of move around if you're not getting him in a lineup. Play Beasley is the basic way for it. And Aaron Gordon I'll throw in as well. A lot of Denver splash plays here, but they're just not, to me, not appropriately priced. And that's what you get in some of these slates. Like, frankly, a lot of guys here are not appropriately priced. Like Jokic too cheap, Cade too cheap, Brunson, I would say, too cheap, Zubac a little too cheap. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to go today, guys. I wish you guys the best of luck. Again, make sure to go leave a comment, hit the like button. It all goes a long way here. Of course, gamble responsibly, guys, even though it's always money time on this channel. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow this channel at Splash Play Bets. And I'll be back, I think, tomorrow with you guys for more. As long as there's going to be at least a 2-game slate, there's a decent prize pool up top. We do some NBA playoff streams here. So I fucking got the hiccups here down the stretch. Show some love if you can. Hit the like button, and maybe I'll be more professional form tomorrow. I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. And check out Stokastic today, too, for MLB. Another sport. Yay. I'd prepare. But I'll be on 5:30 on Stokastic doing the MLB slate. So, and it's a $5 tournament for MLB, too. So that should be fun. Go get their data. I'll see you guys again there. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Bye-bye.